Day 68, Death Valley National Park. So actually before that, days 63 to 67, I spent in LA, just enjoying my brother and his family and doing a little bit of touring, but very little. Out of all the touristy things, we took a drive on Mulholland Drive. We went to the beautiful Griffith Observatory that has amazing views of LA, and it's also a very interesting place to visit in and of itself. And the picture with the Hollywood sign very far in the background, and a nice stroll on the Santa Monica boardwalk. But mostly I just enjoyed spending time with the family. I missed my niece's wedding, actually both of them, the quick one and the official one. Both I missed because of Corona. And that was just a nice relaxing time, and most of it was spent just chilling out by the pool. And then on day 68, it was time to hit the road again. And that was a pivotal moment, no pun intended, but actually pun is intended, in my whole trip. Because when I started out and the clock was rolling back and the zip codes were rolling up and the sun was in my eyes from the afternoon on, I just knew that I have to keep going west, and that's where I'm going, west. And even when I turned south and traveled along the Pacific coast, I could still pretend that I'm in the midst of my trip and I'm keeping on going. But then leaving LA and turning east for good, I had to admit to myself that I was going back, and I was on the last leg of my journey to close the loop, and that it was, for all intents and purposes, the beginning of the end. And it was a very unsettling moment and pretty bitter, but every good thing needs to come to an end, and you should not make such a big deal out of it, because it just means you're getting that much closer to the beginning of something new. So in order to get into Death Valley, you actually have to go up a mountain ridge and then to come down into the valley. And I said it before, and I'm going to say it again, the desert is not my thing. I'm fully aware that it's beautiful, and I'm fully aware that it's actually full of life. But I need green, I need water. So for me, the desert is aesthetic at best, at its greatest moments, and nothing more than that. Death Valley did not disappoint. It is really a very beautiful place. It is used as a movie set for Star Wars and Mars movies, and it's completely understandable why. And it was hot, but not as hot as I expected it to be. So overall, even that was a very enjoyable experience. And the national park itself has a whole bunch of interesting places to check out and put a V on. Of course, there is the selfie with the national park sign, and the visitor center where you could see how hot it actually is. And I was surprised. Well, again, it was almost the middle of October, and it was very, very late in the afternoon, and it was still very hot, but not as bad as I expected it to be. I went to the famous Zabriskie Point because I saw pictures taken there and they looked absolutely amazing, but I was there at the wrong time of day because the sun was in my face. So no matter how hard I tried when taking the pictures and when going through them afterwards, they just cannot convey how beautiful the place was. And then there is this cool thing called the Devil's Golf Course, and of course the most famous spot of the park, which is the lowest point in the Western Hemisphere, 380 something feet below sea level. And that white stuff high up on the cliff over there is actually the mark of the sea level itself. And then, of course, it also has the sand dunes that you can take a hike in. I did not do a hike. I just went a couple of 100 feet off the road, took a few pictures and went back because, again, the desert is not my thing. And another very, very funny thing I came across, there is this little hamlet called Pyramid Springs. For some reason, it has this funky small airplane with the two skeletons inside. But for me, it was very curious to see that it was actually built by a husband for his wife, and the wife happened to be the cousin of the famous Buffalo Bill. So you learn one name on your road out west, and then you keep bumping into it like into an old acquaintance all along. And I came out of Death Valley at sunset and drove back up over the mountains into a little town of Parham, Nevada, where I spent the night. So again, I'm going to stop talking and let the Death Valley do it instead of me. I'm sure it can be just as eloquent.